Thank you, Vince. That was great. We're going to try, for those of you who are there this morning, we did a live link up via StreamYard with Takelot. On the back of Vince's presentation, I touched on AI being one of the priority programs for MMA Global this year. In the last 6 months, it's really bumped up in terms of priorities. We've carried out a state of AI and marketing study in the US, as well as a personalization study where we're leveraging AI to look at the creative adjustments for contextual signals, which was successful in its own right and proved 137 to 249% increase, which Vince referenced in his study there. So I'm going to try and link up now. Vaz is online. Now, Vaz is the VP of Industry Research for MMA Global. He was personally involved in both the State of AI and Marketing survey with the marketeers, as well as carrying out that study. It's a 10-minute overview to give you some insights as to what those findings were. We are looking at building an AI consortium here in South Africa. We are on the lookout for companies that like to get involved, where we can actually take the framework from the US and run it at a local level. So if anyone is interested, please do get in touch with us. But we're gonna attempt to do the live link up with Vaz now. Vaz, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys see me?
Great. Yes. Nice glasses.
Okay, we can. Thank you. So that was weird, but hopefully, after the bumpy kind of start, this is going to be kind of an enjoyable 10, 15 minutes. So hi again, my name is Bakopoulous. Hello from Mexico City in a true kind of MMA global kind of fashion. I wish I was there in person. But I think this is going to be interesting, especially following up the previous presentation about, again, some of the trends about AI and generative AI. I have a little bit of a habit of starting some of my presentations using the image of the thinking man, partly because it looks like something that had been created by Gen AI, and partly because I think it reflects how we all feel recently about everything that is happening in the space of AI and generative AI. So my goal for the next 10, 15 minutes is to try to kind of give you some perspective. A lot of that, to Sarah's point, is coming from, North America, but we also have some empirical evidence from tests that we have done, using AI personalization that I think apply mostly everywhere. So it's been an interesting year, without a doubt. This comes from Google Trends. And I'm just using it to add some perspective into what we've all been experiencing. The blue line is AI, ChatGPT, you see with the red, and Metaverse for context is the yellow line. A couple of observations from this one is that it's been a bumpy road for sure. And that recently, despite a little bit of a kind of a plateau here of AI, I think we are kind of preparing ourselves for a kind of a next level of more kind of maturity. And I think the questions kind of remain in terms of like, how do we deploy AI and generative AI specifically? Now, we have done 3 studies during the last 8 months that I'm going to kind of try to distill in the next 10 minutes and kind of give you some of the highlights. I'm going to be focusing on 3 important questions. The first one is, what is the state of AI, specifically in marketing, and specifically, and a little broader in some cases in terms of digital transformation. We have done 2 studies in that space. The second one is, do we have any empirical evidence about building the business case of AI? And we do actually have 4 case studies right now that I'm going to be sharing with you real quick. And the third one is, now that, there's a shift towards generative AI, and, what is the impact of that, right? What is that what does it mean in terms of perceptions and the road to deployment of AI overall, and what is the road to deployment in the next 12 months? So a lot to cover. So let me kind of dive in, starting from this, which shows a little bit about the state of AI. And I think there's 2 main messages here, other than the circle, kind of the fact that that should have been on the left. But we're not starting from scratch. Average time from beginning of AI efforts in most companies is about 3 years. So that means that traditional AI has been with us for a while now. And as you can see on this on the graph on the left, a lot of the companies are actually scaling their efforts right now. At least kind of almost like one out of two companies are scaling their efforts. And a lot of others are testing and scoping. So we're not really starting from scratch, despite the fact that now generative AI has become a kind of a household name, and it has become more kind of has turned a lot of people's attention to or renewed attention for that matter. Now, when it comes to AI strategy, I think this is an important slide, and we've had a number of workshops here with our members, and a lot of times the question is, what is the use case and all that, which we're going to get to, but really the question is also like, how are we kind of studying, and what is the strategy for AI? And what we're seeing here from, and this comes from a study that we did with chief digital officers, is that the key priority is to align AI deployment with business goals. It's not just about saying we have a solution looking for a problem. It's really about thinking about what are the business goals that we're trying to influence. I'm sorry. And how does that kind of cascade down into specific processes, and where does AI kind of fit into that? So a lot of the focus right now is really about kind of thinking about business goals and working our way down. And when it comes to that, the expected outcomes from AI adoption really have to do predominantly with process reengineering, process innovation. We see here that the CDO's goal is to really kind of automate processes. We see that as a first priority. And also to kind of increase productivity and operational efficiency, which are things that can come hand in hand, maybe with the goal of improving customer experience. So we see that process automation, operational efficiency, customer experience, and then followed by decision-making are four of the key goals for AI application. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the first one again, which is process automation and process kind of innovation. And I've seen some other work from this was published by Wharton Online, and it does really kind of validate a lot of the work that we're doing, because it says that propensity to invest in AI is much higher among the companies who are indeed focused on process innovation, right? So you see that there's a big kind of difference between companies that focus on process innovation versus product innovation. It's interesting also to see that in those specific cases where companies are focused on process innovation, applying AI is where we see productivity kind of differences and lifts that are much higher. So again, there is something here in terms of, at least at this stage and age, in terms of where we are applying AI, that it has to do with like process kind of innovation and looking for efficiencies. Now, when it comes to AI in marketing, and I really hope that this slide doesn't look the way that I see it, because it's kind of a little bit deformed. Improve ROAS is the key metrics for marketers. I mean, we still kind of have, you see, kind of reduction in time spent or other things that have to do with efficiencies and and processes, but improve effectiveness in the sense of ROI or ROAS are the key kind of KPIs, the key metrics for a lot of marketers. And as we're thinking about the business case, and I'm jumping now to the second question that I'm trying to kind of cover in this presentation, is we're seeing that across a number of use cases of marketing, whether there is strategy and planning, whether there is production of creative assets, whether that is activation and personalization, whether it is measurement and attribution or customer service and support, we start seeing a lot of testing and learning. Now with the light blue, you see evidence that is preliminary and positive, and with the blue, we see kind of more solidified kind of evidence. So I think what this is saying is that, clearly, activation and personalization is the area that a lot of marketers are focusing right now, and they're trying to build a business case. Now, only 26% of them have solid data. The rest are kind of doing test and learning. So I hope now with some of the data that we will share, that we will kind of contribute into this dialogue. But thinking about the AI and personalization, and again, I really hope that you can read this because it's deformed. AI is well suited to upgrade traditional DCO. right? Dynamic creative optimization has been with us for years now, and it's based on rules-based optimization. Now, think about the fact that what happens if you have 72 versus like a case study that I'm just about to show you from Kroger, which is a big retailer in the United States. You have different sizes, you have different templates, you have different images, headlines, you have all those different kind of permutations. Now, you can, in theory, kind of apply some rules to show some of these creatives in specific audiences. But the real question is, how do you do that when you start thinking about all the different audience variations? So if you think about the different kind of geographies, DMAs, the different times, different days of the week, different devices, different connection types, all of this create like millions of audience variations. And if you take that into kind of in combination with the versions that you have, you really get to millions and millions of opportunities to find value in those interactions. Now, you can't really do that, or at least effectively with just creating rules, right? Because you don't know what you don't know. And this is where AI, oh my God, this slide is not deformed as well. I apologize for that. This is where AI is coming in to really harness those combinations, starting from like what you see on the little top bar to the left, which is what a normal kind of random kind of distribution of versions would be, and then learning and kind of optimizing to get to optimizing for some of these interactions. So let me show you how that would work. It has worked in 4 case studies that we've done. One with Kroger, which is a big retailer. One with ADT, which is in kind of home security. Monday.com, which you may know as an online kind of project management and kind of set of tools. And General Motors, the car manufacturer. Now, what you see in this slide that I wanted to make it a build, but it unfortunately doesn't work. I apologize for that again, is 4 important data points. And I'm going to start with Kroger and 4 kind of insights, actually. And Kroger kind of showed that there was a KPI improvement of 259%. Now, what they did is that they used, display. They had 72 versions. They did it on the open web. They use a number of these kind of data signals like DMA and time of the day and all that. And AI really kind of found and harvest those optimizations to kind of produce a lift of 259% in the metric that they were measuring. So the upside is really big in this case. ADT also kind of has a very big upside, 186%. They also kind of found out, though, that there were important learnings that had to do with how they kind of approach the audience that they were using. In the beginning of the test, they were using a much broader audience. Then they kind of focused on audiences that they had pre-selected before. So the AI was much better to learn within those audiences that actually they were pre-validated in terms of kind of delivering and being relevant to ADT. So again, the second insight here is that audience matters. Upside is big, but audience matters. And then the third case study with General Motors shows you actually 2 studies. One that produced no lift. And in this case, the insight is that there was no lift because there was no creative diversity. So that was a huge insight that General Motors kind of produced from this study. And then in the other study that they did, they actually had like 68% lift, which again it's huge, especially considering that this is video advertising. And the last one, also kind of big upside with Monday.com. This was audio, and I think it's interesting to see that even with something that feels like it could be like a voicemail kind of voiceover, a male voiceover versus a female voiceover, it still produced very, very strong results. And it found that, there were different places and different times where a male voiceover versus a female voiceover would actually make more sense. So much different that it produced this 188% lift. So the results show that the upside is big, but that there is a learning curve. Now, the third thing that I want to cover in the remaining time is really what we now know and what is happening with the disruption that is taking place from generative AI. The question that we asked here was, first and foremost, on this scale of like AI being a kind of another shiny object all the way to being bigger than fire, or bigger than railways, or bigger than, electricity, like we wanted to kind of see how marketers and senior kind of business executives kind of approach AI and generative AI for that matter. And it looks like the majority, in 3/4, think that it's going to be at least as disruptive as the internet, if not bigger. So 3/4 are bracing themselves for a major disruption. This is an important slide, I think, and it was a surprise to me because it talks about sentiment. And there's a lot of doom and gloom about, like Terminator and all that. But this one shows that marketers and business executives are very much optimistic. There's a broad sense of optimism, especially when it comes to how we personally will gonna make it work for us. So what you see here with 64% is net positive, meaning positive minus negative. So a lot of the marketers kind of feel that I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna spend a lot of my time kind of thinking about it and kind of figuring out. And in fact, I was in Mexico City in an event last week and I was presenting that. And I did do kind of a quick poll, and most of the people in the room actually spend more than 50% of their time thinking and kind of practicing and just trying to kind of understand, even personally, how they can kind of apply generative AI. Because at the end of the day, and this is another important slide, for many of us, generative AI is already real. It's not something that is going to come in the next 1 or 2 years, 2 to 5 years. For 50% is already impacting our business or industry, or it's going to do that in the next 12 months. So the time for us is now really to kind of start figuring it out. And yet there is a hesitancy. This slide shows the kind of a classic diffusion curve for that kind of this in every kind of innovation and every technological innovation. But what you see here was the response to the question, do you want to be a first mover when it comes to generative AI? Do you want to be a fast follower, or are you gonna just wait and see what happens later? And you can see the results, and they fit into the curve of the classic diffusion. But again, they show that the majority wants to be a fast follower. They don't have the conviction to actually be kind of first movers in this case. And in fact, because of that, again, kind of a big percentage here is concerned that we are moving too slow, right? 43% says that we're moving too slow. So there is a need for urgency. We understand that this is the biggest opportunity that we will see potentially in our lifetime, at least at parity with the internet. We see this happening, but then we're not moving as fast as we can. Now, where should we be moving? Should we be focusing? These are the the use cases that are being that the most companies are focusing right now, especially when it comes to marketing. And you see that content creation and then customer support and creative optimization are at the forefront, right? There's this whole discussion about, can we kind of produce content more efficiently and more effectively and at scale with generative AI. So I think this is where about 75% of companies are testing and learning right now to see how they can do that. Now, this is kind of a focus area, sort of obviously, as we can see here. But there's a realization that because this is moving too fast, because I'm slow, I'm moving too slow, I need my partners. And I think this slide here shows that most of the companies will rely more on their partners in the next 12 months. This is not something that we can do alone, is the realization. So we need to rely on our data cloud platforms. We need to rely on an AI solutions, martech platforms, and we also need to rely on our content agency. So contrary to the belief that, we're ready right now because, we have the new tools for generative AI to produce content in-house, it looks like at least in the midterm or short term, whatever it is, the 12 months, we will be relying more on our partners. And in fact, and I think this is one of my last slides, we will be doing more outsourcing, right? So think about like some of the things that we said. This thing is moving very fast. It's going to be a big disruption. Content is really kind of the area that a lot of marketers are focusing on. There's a search for efficiencies and process kind of innovation and kind of re-engineering. But in the short term, there's going to be definitely more outsourcing as companies are trying to kind of hit the ground running and be more kind of agile about it. So with that, I just want to kind of conclude. I hope that was not too bumpy, given some of the technical difficulties, but There's 6 observations that I want to leave you with. The first one is that, again, we're not starting from scratch. Just because AI now is a household name, traditional AI has been with us for a while, for years in testing. There are specific goals that companies have been focusing on. They have to do a lot with process automation and operational efficiency, but also with customer experiences and improved decision making. AI and personalization is really the first big use case in marketing. We see that the upside is huge, up to 259% we've measured so far with our studies. But there is a learning curve, right? There's things that can go wrong, and we will learn from those things. Generative AI, is really kind of changing and accelerating a lot of what's happening there. The consensus is that disruption is major and is already happening. The pace of adoption is, slower than what we wanted, what we probably kind of most marketers want. Despite the optimism, companies are not moving fast enough. And then we just see also the emergence of new use cases, content use cases that lead the charge, being the lower hanging fruit, but also the fact that and the realization that you can't do this alone for now. Companies will need support from their partners in the short term. So big thank you again. Saying hi from sunny Mexico City. I wish I was there in person. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Vaz. Thank you very much. If you can hear us, thank you. So if anyone here would like to take part in the consortium and carry out local case studies, do get in touch. Everyone who has attended will receive a copy of the State of AI in Marketing for your interest as well.